One law school. Where's that law school located?
University of Maryland.
Where?
Where?
Mr. Oceanroy will have you do the videotape. University of Maryland, Baltimore. Law school. Imagine if that law school had to be transferred to Bowie State. And so what you all are going to be doing with respect to the arbitration is that again, you're going to look at the facts, and we've provided you some resources, including the kind of a summary of all the proceedings that took place up through up through the 2013 ruling. But there's a more recent one that we're going to also put forth, and that's going to be available for you as well. But what you are going to do on the plaintiff side is to kind of come up with what the recommendations are for the proposed remedy, right, or remedies. What programs may be moved, what buildings needed to be built. And again, it's not just, you guys can have a seat. It's not just for, again, university, it's not just with respect to benefiting one of the plaintiffs, but we're talking about all the plaintiffs, right? So the plaintiffs are who? Bowie State, Compton, UMBS, and Morgan State, right? So the 4 HBCUs. So all of those schools have to receive some benefit, right? So automatically it's again a proportionate funding. But again, the other things are what you all are going to be coming up with, right? And you have to come up with specificity. Like I say, more funding, right? You have to come up with a proposed amount of money, right, that needs to be allocated. So that requires you to do some research. So the plaintiffs are going to come up with that, and the defendants are going to come up with what they think the remedy should be. So you're going to have to take the position of the University of Maryland, right, and what you think the remedy should be and what your arguments are for that position. And the special masters, your job, Team 5, is to, on your own, come up with what the pros and cons, right, of you won't know what the other sides are going to say, right, but you're going to think ahead of what they might say, right? And so, because, again, you're going to be as a neutral arbitrator, your job is to listen to both sides and make a ruling on what arguments are best on both sides in order to achieve what the court has directed to be accomplished, and that is to, again, bring about fairness and equity. And so equity means, again, undoing or tipping the scale in favor of the side that's been harmed, but doing it just in the right amount of kind of tipping, if you will, in order to make sure that the scales ultimately balance out into an equal manner, right? So that's the idea. I saw a hand that went up. Yes, ma'am.
So each group does not have to do everything listed below the procedure. Each group just has to do their.
Yes, each group has to do what the procedure in terms of the introduction will be, again, the party sitting down. So you'll be, again, at a table that up here will be right here, or maybe right here. So be the first row. You'll have turn the seats around. The plaintiffs will be on one side, the defendants will be on the other side, and perhaps the special masters will be right here, right? And so you'll go through the entire procedure, and everybody will have, again, each side will have 4 minutes to present their arguments and their proposals. Then there'll be a rebuttal, which is about 2 minutes each between both parties, and then the excuse me, the special master will make its decision. All right, so that's the mock arbitration. So, in prep for that, let's finish up. Before I go on, I want to introduce, and at the end of the class, I'm going to allow our guest to introduce herself and tell a little bit about some of the interesting cases that she's done. She's an attorney also, and someone is going to be helping us and has helped us with putting together the mock arbitration. So we talked about how various forms of jurisdiction, and again, this jurisdiction is going to be important to understand. We talked about the difference between the state courts and the federal courts. And here, what is the, Ms. King, tell me, what are the various types of federal courts that we have? The multiple federal courts. What are the federal courts? It's not on the screen, Ms. King. Ms. King. What are the multiple federal courts that we have? What is it? What is one?
The U.S. District Court.
U.S. District Court.
The U.S. Court of Appeals.
U.S. Court of Appeals.
And the United States Supreme Court.
Those are 3 federal courts. What are the federal courts that we have besides those 3? It's in the lecture notes that I provided. Miss Murray. Yeah. Mr. Callaway, can you get the time? We only have problems.
Texas courts. Texas courts. They different.
What are the other courts that we have? You said the U.S. Court of Appeals, the Federal District Court, right? And Supreme Court. Those are 3 courts. But what are the other courts? What about the specialized courts? Huh?
Okay, yeah.
Right? We have the bankruptcy courts, right?
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Court of Federal Claims.
Federal claim, Court of Federal Claims.
Court of Federal Claims. What else, Ms. Murray?
Court of International
Court of
Trade.
International Trade.
Exactly. What else?
Tax court.
Tax court.
U.S. Tax Court, right? And I've been before at least the U.S. Tax Court, and I've represented clients in bankruptcy courts as well. Those are federal courts. So again, bankruptcy, when you file for bankruptcy, and again, we know what a bankruptcy is, right? That's when you have more debts than you have assets. And so you try to basically liquidate your debts by having a court order reduction of those claims against you. And again, but that is that's a federal law. That's not state law, those are federal law. Right? In the same way, tax court, with the U.S. Tax Court, and the other side would be the Internal Revenue Service. And again, these other courts right here, the state trial courts of general jurisdiction, are again, that shows you kind of another leg by which these cases can make it up to the Supreme Court. But these are the, again, federal courts. And then the federal administrative agencies, in many cases, their proceedings are going to be similar to the proceedings of the arbitrations that we're discussing right now. All right? Any questions about that? You can have a seat. So, Ms. Green, how are the federal courts divided? How are the federal courts divided, particularly the U.S. District Courts and the U.S. Court of Appeals? How are they divided?
In different geographic boundaries.
Pardon me?
Like different geographic boundaries.
Okay, and how many geographic boundaries are there in total?
13.
13? And what is the geographic boundary called? How are they described? By what? What's the word used? What's the first geographic boundary? What's the first geographic boundary? What's that called?
The first one.
And which specifically, which of those three courts are divided up specifically?
U.S. District Court, U.S. U.S. State Supreme Court.
So I'm saying which of those, again, you talked about geographic boundaries.
Mhm.
What of those three courts are given designations by their boundaries? And what is that boundary called?
The District Court. That's what you.
Definitely not. It's gonna have to go
Mr.
federal.
Parks, you want to take a shot at it?
Which have to be.
Thank you. I said, first of all, how the courts, which of those three courts are actually given a name designated by the boundaries that Ms. Green mentioned? And then what's the term used? What is it? What's that? Circuits. What'd you say, Mr. Parks?
Oh, I said what she said. Circuit.
What did you say then, Ms. Green?
Second one.
So what's the first? What is the name of the first? So that's the second question. You've answered the second question.
Mhm.
So which of those three courts are actually divided by the circuit boundary? Is it the Supreme Court?
The District Court.
U.S. Courts of Appeals, right, Ms. Hall?
Yeah.
The U.S. Courts of Appeals are divided by circuit boundaries. You have the First Circuit, right, which includes Puerto Rico, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. The Second Circuit, the Third Circuit, the Fourth Circuit, and which of the circuit, Ms. Green, are we in?
The Fourth Circuit.
The Fourth Circuit. All right. That's what you need to understand, right? And so again, the way this works is that, Mr. Parks, where does a case start off at? What does a case start off at? Which of those three? Does it start off at the Supreme Court?
The District.
No.
Where does it start off at, Mr. Parks?
District.
The District Court, right? The U.S. District Court. And from there, Ms. Green goes to where?
The U.S. Court of Appeals.
Based upon what? What you just said.
Based on the District Court ruling.
Based upon what, Mr. Parks?
Circuit Court.
It goes to a circuit court based upon what? You had said it earlier. Ms. Hall, help her out.
Oh, you said circuit boundaries?
Based upon the circuit boundaries. That's the point, right? So if I'm in district court down in Texas, where is my, and I want to file an appeal because I don't like the decision, where is my court going to be? It's going to be what? What's the name of what's the name of the court that I'm going to go to?
The U.S. Court of Appeals.
U.S. Court of Appeals for what?
The fifth.
The fifth what, Ms. Hall?
Circuit boundary.
Huh? The name of the court.
U.S. Court of Appeals?
What's the full name? Mr. Parks?
Circuit Court of Appeals.
U.S. Court of Appeals for the what?
Fifth boundary.
For the fifth what?
Circuit.
For the Fifth Circuit. That's it. In Maryland, if I have if the parties want to appeal the ruling that just came out of the U.S. District Court in Baltimore, and they want to appeal it, where are they going to go, Ms. Green?
The U.S. Court of Appeals for the fourth boundary.
For the fourth what?
Circuit.
For the Fourth Circuit. All right? And where is that based? Just by chance. What do you think that is? It's not in the book.
No.
It's not in Baltimore.
I think it says Richmond or DC.
It's in Richmond. The Fourth Circuit Court is based in Richmond, Virginia. All right?
That was fun.
So that's a key to understand. All right?
Get pissed off in the class. See?
So again, we're going to ADR. Now, what is ADR? You guys can have a seat. Mr. Muslim, what is ADR? Mr. Muslim. I'd like Mr. Muslim, did you guys win? You lost? Wow, I was talking about you guys, man, at a reception in Georgetown. Talking about the fact that they never covered our Bowie State Bulldogs. You guys, what was the score, Mr. Muslim?
45-35.
45-35. Who do you guys play?
Delta State.
Delta State. Wow, from the South, man. Oh, God. That also HBCU or no?
Mm-hmm.
It's not. Well, that's probably because of disproportionality in football funding. I'm sure they had a working sound system down there in Delta State. Did y'all ask them?
Right, Willis? She came from
Thank
D1.
you.
Hey, bro, the funding.
So what is ADR?
Alternative dispute resolution.
Alternative dispute resolution. That's the acronym. Good job. So now tell me what it is. You're going to be doing it on Wednesday. So what is it you're going to be doing?
The means of settling their disputes with greater than the ADR is just flexibility.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Means of settling disputes.
So means of selling disputes, all right? So what are the three means of selling disputes?
Negotiation.
Negotiation,
Mediation.
mediation,
And attribution.
and arbitration. And which one are you going to be assigned to do on Wednesday?
Arbitration.
Arbitration. So what is that? What's the difference between mediation, arbitration, and negotiation?
Negotiation is the simplest form of ADR.
Okay, and what does that
The process
entail?
in which the parties attempt to settle their dispute informally,
Mm-hmm.
with or without attorneys to represent them.
Okay, good. So now tell me about mediation.
A neutral third party acts as a mediator and works with both sides of the dispute to facilitate a resolution.
Now, what's the difference between mediation and arbitration?
Arbitration is a more formal method in which an arbitrator, a neutral third party, or a panel of experts hears a dispute and imposes a resolution on the party.
And so the key difference between the mediation, Mr. Muslim, you getting them all back to back, correct? The difference between the mediation and the arbitration is what? Key difference.
I'm guessing it's the panel of experts.
Well, you may have maybe a panel of mediators, perhaps, and that might be, you may or may not, that might be a distinction, but the major difference between mediation and arbitration, you hit on it earlier, but I want to see if you actually understood it, is what?
It makes a decision for the parties.
Aha! And which one?
Which party?
Which dispute resolution system makes the decision?
The arbitrator.
The arbitration is in which the people or the deciders make the what?
The decision.
They make the decision. But in mediation, who makes the decision?
Mediator.
No. That's the difference. Who makes the decision?
A neutral third party.
No. The neutral third party is the same as the arbitrator. What is the neutral third party's job in a mediation, Mr. Karim Muslim?
Dispute to facilitate a resolution.
To facilitate the resolution. You see the difference? See, in one case, the arbitrator, he's going to do what, Mr. Muslim?
The arbitrator is going to impose a resolution.
He's going to say, okay, I've heard your side. I've heard your side. This decision. In the mediation, what's going to happen?
They're just going to facilitate it, just talk about it.
Exactly. He's going to try to help the parties, right? So you'd have the plaintiff sit down on one side, the defendant sit down on the other side. They both would talk about what solution they would want to have happen. And the mediator's job is to try to bring out the points to bring them together. To say, you know, you make a good point here, but have you considered this? You know, do you think you can be flexible on this? However, the mediator can't do what, Mr. Muslim?
Can't make a decision.
They can't make the decision. The parties have to make the decision. And that is a tough situation oftentimes. And that's the key difference between all three. All right? So what you guys are going to be doing on Wednesday, you got, on one way, you're going to be doing some possible, again, you won't be, again, negotiating in terms of talking between yourselves.
8:45.
Thank you. But instead, you're going to actually be presenting the case, presenting your arguments, and again, trying to get data. That's the most important thing. So again, in your presentation, you want to try to have some data. Those are going to be the teams that do best and score most. Again, make sure you're coming with your apparel together. Make sure you have your documents well produced, and make sure you have your data. All right, in order to present your case. Anybody have any questions about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, so you, at first you were saying it was going to be seated, like the plaintiffs and the defendants would be seated right there, but how would they do like presentation?
So their presentations are not. You're not going to be doing presentations like you've done in the past. You're going to put together a presentation because that's going to be your information you're going to use, right? So that's primarily for the purposes of both grading and purposes of your information. If you want to do a presentation, you can. But again, your presentation, your facts, you can do it using a PowerPoint. That might be the most effective way to do it. But again, you have the defendant sitting on one side, the plaintiff sitting on the other side, and the mediator sitting right here. All right.
So you're just saying we can just bring our notes with us and stuff?
Yeah, you can, but again, you have to have a presentation submitted in order for us to grade. All right.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
since we're working with team 3, is it like our presentation?
No, you're not working with them. We're gonna have 2 different sessions.
Oh,
We have one session with, again, between team 1 and 3, and then have another session between team 2 and 4.
okay.
All right. All right. So without any further ado, let me introduce Attorney Teresa Yanni, who, and just as a FYI, you want to go through this PowerPoint and understand some of the things that have been talked about with respect to ADRs. You can also go online and see a sample ADR session. That'll probably be the best thing for you to do. Go to YouTube and find that out, all right? And without any further ado, let us have Attorney Teresa Yanni, who is an attorney, went to Hofstra Law School, and also went to one of the SUNY or the CUNYs in SUNYs in New York for undergrad, and now practicing immigration law. Let's give her a round of applause.
Good morning, everybody. As you said, my name is Teresa Yanni. I practice immigration. I'm barred in DC and New York. Right now, I'm mostly working in DC. I started out mostly doing family visas, applying for people to bring their families over. But now I'm more into the deportation area. So I'm working in court, removability issues, trying to keep people from being deported, mostly. But I'm really excited to start working with your professor, Karim, with coming up with these group projects. The one on Wednesday looks interesting. It should be a good project.
Do you have any recommendations based upon your practice, Attorney Yanni, in terms of the resolutions that you've done?
Well,
any stories
actually,
from any resolutions or any arbitration that you might have been involved with?
during law school, we actually did a lot of these mock trials and mock arbitrations and stuff. So mostly what we did is you work with your group, you come up with a solid argument, bring all of your evidence, your facts, articles could help, any evidence of something, well, this is kind of groundbreaking, so I'm not sure if this has ever been done before, what they want to do, the HBCUs. So anything that'll support that, or for the other side likewise, anything that'll support your argument that this is not going to work, it's too far, bring that in and try to really convince the arbitrator on your side, and the arbitrator also, that group, you have to look at both sides and come up with a resolution, well, the special master actually, come up with a resolution that will kind of make, that you think is best for the schools. Not so much which one will make everybody happy, which one will be the best for the students, for the schools, and for the communities.
Do we have any questions for Attorney Yanni? All right. Well, without any further ado, let's give her a round of applause. And we look forward to you guys having some outstanding presentations on Wednesday.
All right.